How you doing, people? Back for another fight card. It's only a couple of days out from UFC 166, which was unbelievable, which I'll have a few words on in a minute. But we're in the British Isles in Manchester for UFC Fight Night 30 from the Phones for You Arena in Manchester, where it's the middleweights and Lyoto Machida, who's making his debut at 185 against Mark Munoz. And a very, very good card, I must admit. I like the card. It's an historic card for the Scottish fight fans out there, as we're going to have our first Scottish fighter fight in the UFC. Going to talk a few words on UFC 166, which was just unbelievable. Just the best fight card that I've ever seen. I've been to a few good live ones, but that was unbelievable. And I was going to go to that event, and I'm actually pissed that I didn't go now. But say it was quite expensive to go over there, so wish I went. It would probably been worth going bankrupt over. But say we're here in Manchester. I'm going to the card at the weekend, but UFC 166 was unbelievable. It started off with Horiguchi and Fili. The Facebook prelims were off the chart. There was four finishes. Horiguchi looked really, really good. Fili looked amazing, and it just kind of went on, and it accumulated with Diego Sanchez and Gilbert Melendez in an absolute war. I just wish the fight was 5 rounds. That's the same with Jake Ellenberger. Once Diego gets into the late rounds, he's just a beast. He can't be stopped. In the third round, he was going through Gilbert Melendez. He lost the first 2 rounds, I think, pretty easily as well, Sanchez. But he got going in the third, and then it was just a brawl, and he hurt Melendez, and it was just a lot of people are saying it's the best fight they've ever seen. It was a great fight, probably my favourite fight I've ever seen, to be fair. But say Melendez is moving on. Melendez is just a stud in that division. He's such a great fighter. If you're not, you have to be a fan of that guy. He brings it every time. He didn't have to go out and fight that way, and he went and did it. And it was just unbelievable. And then Velasquez and Dos Santos, which was you could see how good Cain Velasquez is in this in MMA. He's absolutely amazing. He's got everything, and he's going to be a hard man to stop in the heavyweight division. So, UFC Fight Night 30 from the Phones for You Arena in Manchester. We're going to get started with Brad Scott against Michael Kuiper. Now, Brad Scott, he fought in the Ultimate Fighter Smashes, lost to Robert Whittaker in the final. I think he's about 8-1. His record. I've seen a few fights on YouTube, pretty decent. He's against Michael Kuiper here, who's coming off a loss to Tom Lawler. Before that, he had a win over Jared Hallman at UFC 150, and then he lost to Natal before that. Tough fight to call. I think this will go to decision, and I like Michael Kuiper. It's going to be very, very close though. Next up, we've got Jimy Hettes against Robert Whiteford. This is huge for me. It's huge for Scottish MMA. We're going to have a Scottish fight on the UFC, and Robert Whiteford. He fights out the Dinky Ninja fight team in Glasgow. He's 10-1 record, and he's coming in here against Jimy Hettes, who I like, who's coming off a loss as well. Very, very tough fight for Whiteford, but this is just huge. I'm really, really happy that the UFC have brought in a Scottish fighter. It's about time we had one in there. We've got lots of talent ready and waiting to come into the UFC, women and men. So we'll just have to wait and see if we get more fighters in 2014 if they come to Glasgow, which I hope they do, which they've stated they might come as well. So Jimy Hettes, he lost last time out to Marcus Brimage. This is going to be an exciting fight. Tough fight for Robert Whiteford. I hope he gets the win, but I'm going to go with Jimy Hettes. I think he's a really, really talented kid, and he's going to do he can do a lot of damage in the UFC. So Jimy Hettes by submission. I think he's going to sub Robert Whiteford. Next up, we've got Andy Ogle against Cole Miller. Ogle's coming off a win over Josh Grisby in London. I think that's probably who he fought back in February. Yeah, he did. He won that fight. He's against Cole Miller, this is a huge fight for Cole Miller. He's lost 4 of his last 6 fights. Out of his last 6, he's lost 4, and he needs this win. Ever since he beat Ross Pearson, he's just kind of went downhill a little bit. He sub Bart Palczewski, but then he's kind of went and lost a few as well. So this is a huge fight for Cole Miller. I think he'll maybe just get the decision, but he could submit Andy Ogle as well. So Cole Miller by late sub in the third or a decision victory. Next up, we've got Rosi Sexton against Jessica Andrade. Andrade second fight in UFC fights out of Brazil. Fought Liz Carmouche last time out. Quite a talented, scrappy little girl. And she can do a bit of damage in the women's bantamweight division. I think she's probably just a natural 125er, like most of the girls are in the women's bantamweight division. And she's got a really tough fight here against Rosi Sexton. Sexton, she's a veteran of women's MMA. She's fought all over Europe. Fought last time out at UFC 161 against Alexis Davis. Very, very close fight. You can see how good she is on the ground. She was pounding away, but Davis is tough, and Davis got the nod. But I think Rosi Sexton will get a victory here. I think she'll get a decision victory over Jessica Andrade. So I'm going to go Rosi Sexton by unanimous decision. Next up, we've got Luke Barnett against Andrew Craig. Andrew Craig he's quite a talented fighter. He puts on quite exciting fights as well. Coming off a win over Chris Lieben, he beat Natal by I think it was a head kick knockout, if I remember right. And Barnett, who's coming off tough 17 when he was under Chael Sonnen in the John Jones series there. I'm finding this a really tough fight to call. I think this could be another decision. But I like Andrew Craig. So Iaquinta against Peter Hallman. Now Hallman looked very impressive. He got blasted in the first round against Trinaldo in Brazil not so long ago, but came back and actually subbed Trinaldo in the second, which I thought was amazing. And he's got a really tough opponent here out Iaquinta, who beat Ryan Couture not long ago. Looked very, very good. I don't think Couture's the best kind of fighter in the world. And he looked pretty good in doing it, but he's got those big hands, and he hurt Couture a few times as well. This is another fight that's very, very, very tough to call. I think I'm going to pick Hallman. I think he might submit Iaquinta if he gets him to the ground. I think he might submit him. So I'm going to go Peter Hallman by submission in the second. Next into the main card, we've got Phil Harris and John Lineker in the flyweight division. Now, I'm pumped for this fight. John Lineker is, I like this kid when he fights. He's really, 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 really good. He lost to Luis Gaudino at UFC in Fox, and Diaz was fighting Jim Miller. But since then, he's come back. He decisioned Yuri Shitani, and he's knocked out Gashimov and Jose Maria Tome. I think he'll do the same here. Phil Harris, who's a guy who's kind of fought around the lower weight divisions for many a year, fought Jose Aldo way back in the day. I just think this is going to be a really tough fight for Phil Harris, and I like John Lineker to continue his TKOs and hopefully go on and face John Dodson. I think that'd be a really, really, really good fight, both with power on their hands. So I'm going to go John Lineker by first round TKO. Next up, we've got Alessio Sakara against the newcomer Nicholas Musoke. Sakara, he's lost 3 on the bounce, but they are 2 really, really good fighters as well. I think he lost last time out to Cote when he was punching the back of the head. Before that, he lost to Brian Stan in Sweden, and then before that, he lost to Chris Weidman. So they're not the worst fighters in the world to be losing to, but he needs to win this fight if he wants to stay in the UFC, I reckon. I know the UFC are talking about going to Italy for a card, and they want to probably keep him around for that, but I think if he loses this fight, he's out. Musoke, he fights out the All-Stars team in Sweden. Don't really know much about him. Seen a couple of his fights. This is a tough fight to call. I think I'm going to go Sakara by decision. Next up, we've got Storm and Norman Parke against John Tuck. Parke last time out at UFC 162, I think it was. UFC 162, he won over Takedomi, and he looked pretty impressive doing so. His stand-up looked really good. Before that, he beat Colin Fletcher to win the Tough Smashes series. John Tuck here, this is a fight I'm finding hard to call as well. He fights out of Guam. He fought in the Ultimate Fight. I think he had a busted broken toe way back in the Ultimate Fighter 15. He's coming over a win over Tishuan Jiang, which is nothing to kind of write home about at all. So I'm going to go Storm and Norman Parke by another decision here. Next up, we've got Jimy Manuwa against Ryan Jimmo. Really looking forward to seeing Jimy Manuwa again. The guy has huge power in his hands, and he loves to come out and just throw. I think that he will hurt Ryan Jimmo if he can get. I think he'll hurt Jimmo. Jimmo's got a power in it himself. He knocked out Pearson little time, but Jimi Manuwa is a beast, and I think he's going to knock out Ryan Jimmo here. I think Jimmo might get through the first, but I think in the second, Manuwa is going to knock him out. So I'm going to go Jimi Manuwa second round TKO in that fight. Into the co-main event, we've got Ross Pearson against Melvin Guillard. Now this is a fucking brawl. This could be up there with one of the fight of the year kind of candidates if both these guys come off. Guillard, UFC veteran, fought for many a year in the UFC. He's been up round about title shots. He gets ever so close, and then he kind of shoots himself in the foot by just being too hyped up for fights like Joe Lozon. But I still think he's one of the best in the division. And he's just got so much speed, so much power. Knocked out Matt Danzig last time out, and it was a devastating knockout. Before that, he lost to Varner and Cerrone, which he hurt both of them in that fight as well. Ross Pearson's coming off a win over, I think, Ryan Couture? Yeah, Ryan Couture, and before that, George Sotiropoulos. It's a big fight for Ross Pearson. If he can take out Melvin Guillard, he puts himself right up there in the UFC lightweight division. I think it's going to be tough for him, though. I think Gillard's too fast. I think he hits harder, and I think he will knock out Ross Pearson late, maybe in the third round. So I'm going to go Melvin Guillard by third round TKO. And on to the main event of the night, we've got Lyoto the Dragon Machida replacing Michael Bisping, who I actually feel pretty sorry for because he was desperate to fight in this card, against Mark Munoz. This is the first fight for Lyoto Machida in the UFC Middleweight Division. It's going to be interesting to see if he makes weight. He was on UFC Inside Octagon a few weeks back, and he said his weight was quite high, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets down there. He was never the biggest 205 pounder, but we all know what Machida's like. He's got a very elusive style, in and out. He can hurt you coming in. If you rush in, he'll catch you and he'll knock you out like he did with Ryan Bader. One of the best in the light heavyweight division, no doubt about it. Probably one of the only guys to take a round off John Jones before getting knocked out and submitted in that one, sorry. But he's against Mark Munoz here, who looked very, very good last time out against Tim Boetsch. If Bisping was fighting Munoz, I would have picked Munoz. I think his wrestling would have been better, but who knows. He's coming off a win at UFC 162 over Tim Boetsch, where he looked very, very good. These two guys are very, very close friends. I think they were training on the run-up to this fight. Machida was training for Kennedy for the UFC Fight for the Troops card, and Munoz for Bisping. So this is going to be I think it's going to be a really, really good fight if they both engage, which is never what Machida usually does. If he engages with Munoz, Munoz will probably take him down. But Machida all day, I think Machida, I think he could knock out Mark Munoz, but I think he could easily get a decision. I think the decision is what he might get. If he's going to get a knockout, he's probably going to get it late on because it's a 5-round fight. I think Machida's going to get this one, so I'm going to go Lyoto Machida, first win in the UFC middleweight division. So that's my picks there, guys. Looking forward to getting down to Manchester to watch some fights. Been a little while since I've been to a card, so come follow me on Twitter, BigBlubber7MMA. Come follow me in here, share this, let me know your predictions. I'd love to know what your predictions are going to be. So enjoy the fights this weekend, and then I'll be back. I think it's UFC Fight for the Troops. So yeah, thank you.